One day, a fisherman was sitting by his boat while playing with his child on a beautiful beach, his fishing pole resting against the boat. A wealthy businessman came walking down the beach, trying to relieve some of the stress of his workday. Curious and honestly horrified at the sight of the fisherman wasting the day, the businessman asked, "Why aren't you out fishing?" The fisherman looked up at the businessman, he smiled, and he replied, "Because I already caught enough fish for one day." The businessman followed, "Well, why don't you catch some more?" "What would I do with them?" replied the fisherman. "Well, you could earn extra money," said the businessman. "And then, with the extra money, you could buy a bigger boat. You can go into deeper waters. You can catch more fish. And then you would make enough money to buy nylon nets. And with the nets, you could catch even more fish and make even more money. And with that money, you could own 2 boats, maybe even 3 boats. Eventually, you could have a whole fleet of boats and be rich like me." "Well, then what would I do?" replied the fisherman. "Well, then," said the businessman, "you could really enjoy life." The fisherman looked at the businessman quizzically and asked, "What do you think I'm doing now?" Reverend Boggis now begins her sermon, and with, I literally quote, "Y'all, I am addicted to a murder mystery series. Not only am I ready to move to Three Pines, Canada, for the croissants and the cafe au lait, but I think also I am in love with Chief Inspector Armand Gamache. There's only one problem. You know this. People keep getting murdered in Three Pines. Growing up watching an Agatha Christie television series, I learned that if Miss Marple visits your village, somebody is going to die. You'll either end up murdered or you'll be the murderer. I can't figure out why the villagers in Three Pines allow Armand Gamache to live there. It's just one murder after another. But it does keep me reading the books. Apologies, I digress. And I, David, digress. I was embarrassingly not familiar with this series or this author. Her name is Louise Penny. She has written to date 19 Inspector Gamache mysteries. I have heard that she plans to retire the character with her next one. And she is also the co-author of the thriller State of Terror, and that co-author is none other than Hillary Rodham Clinton. So, forgive me for my ignorance, and I am very grateful to Reverend Boggis because I read this book, and it is good. A cozy mystery with curse words. Now, in Louise Penny's 4th Inspector Gamache novel, it's called A Rule Against Murder, Armand and his wife, Renee Marie, are on holiday, vacation, celebrating their wedding anniversary at a luxury lakeside hotel nestled deep in the Canadian forest when, surprise, surprise, a murder happens. At least this time it's not in Three Pines. Every evening, the chief inspector sees a man sitting on a chair at the lake's dock. The man appears to be over 90 years old. When Gamache asks him what he is doing, the old man replies that he is counting his sums. It is, in fact, his evening ritual. Now, this daily ritual enrages his stepchildren. They're all grown up, kids of their own, and they are there at the lodge for a family reunion. And they are enraged because they believe their stepfather, the old man, has married their mother only to steal their late father's amassed wealth from them. When he is counting his sums, he is counting all of their money. Now, interestingly, the old man is not the one who's murdered. More to come on that. So, when we count our sums. What does it mean to count ourselves as wealthy? When you imagine winning the lottery, what is the number you hope to win? How much is your enough number? The amount of money in which you will stop worrying and simply enjoy life. Financial advisors would make a difference between being wealthy and being rich. It seems you can be wealthy without ever being rich. It's the simple lesson of the fisherman's parable from a moment ago. The banker, he's rich. The fisherman, he's wealthy. Wealth is a state of being, not the number in your bank account. Henry David Thoreau once said, "Wealth is the ability to fully experience life." It invites us to reconsider our enough number. Is our lottery number making us rich, or is it making us wealthy? My teenage daughter once warned her grandmother, who had just bought a lottery ticket. "Oh," she exclaimed, "I hope you don't win. Winning the lottery is a curse, not a blessing." Now, recently, I was listening to a podcast called So Money with Farnoosh Torabi. Her guest on that podcast was Manisha Thakur, who asked the audience to consider whether our net worth is tied to our self-worth. Let's examine this a little. In the book, Poverty by America, Matthew Desmond shares that Americans are rich. Colossally rich, in fact. In 2020, the year of the global pandemic, Professor Desmond reports that Americans spent $555 million on travel, $10 million on our pets, and bought 310,000 new powerboats. Our homes are enormous. You can fit 3 newly built English homes in just one of our American homes. And for more than 1 in 8 Americans, those enormous homes aren't even our only homes. Our cars, even the electric ones, are bigger than anyone's else's in the world. We are, in fact, much richer than citizens of other countries, even other rich countries. We are colossally rich, but we are not wealthy. In my pastoral ministry, writes Reverend boggis, I keep hearing more and more people counting their sums and feeling despair. It's never enough. Is our net worth tied to our self-worth? Too often the answer to that question is yes, and I, David, can personally attest to that. Matthew Desmond asks, has there ever been another time in the full sweep of human history when so many people had so much and yet felt so deprived and anxious? How is this so? In our larger culture, we are bombarded by at least 2 messages. And the first one is, we should be living the good life. That's what the banker wants for the fisherman, the good life. We are bombarded by images of people living their best lives, from our friends on social media to ads in the commercials coming at us from every direction. Our friends are posting photos of their families all in matching outfits, standing on the beach, smiling. No toddler is ever in meltdown. No siblings are ever fighting about who's doing the best job taking care of mom. There is no outlaw taking a nip from the hotel mini bottles. Perfect families on perfect vacations, living the good life. Commercials show us the life we could be living if we just went on that European cruise, or if we just bought the latest car, or if we just dressed in the right clothes. Home improvement shows present us with all the ways that our current homes are lacking. We need a makeover or a new home. Instead, altogether, even pharmaceuticals companies play image after image of the life you could be having if you just took our little magic pill. And funny that they don't show these same actors acting out the side effects of the drugs. Yes, we should all be living the good life. If you aren't, you must be doing it wrong. The second message is we should be exceptional. Each one of us. All of us are going to be president, or the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or the Secretary General of the United Nations, or a rocket scientist. All of us, by the time we're 35. And if you haven't achieved one of those exceptional statuses, you must be doing it wrong. Manisha Thakur has noticed 3 hallmarks to the culture's relationship to wealth. First, our response to our inner discomfort is more. Do more, earn more, accumulate more, and only then will you be more. And that drive for more causes us to feel more like human doings or human earnings rather than human beings. Finally, no matter how colossally rich we are, it's just not enough to feel whole inside. Elizabeth Alexander, who wrote Blues, which Trista read earlier, describes our lives. To think in childhood I missed only 1 day of school per year. I went to ballet class 4 days a week at 4:45 and on Saturdays, beginning always with plie, ending with curtsy. To think I knew only industry, the industry of my race and of immigrants. The radio station always tuned to the station that said, line up your summer job months in advance, work hard, do not shame your family who worked hard to give you what you have. There is no sin but sloth. Burn to a wick and keep moving. The fisherman, however, invites us to disconnect our self-worth from our net worth. He invites us to cultivate our wealth instead of our riches. Manisha Thakur finally accepted his invitation the hard way. From the moment that she graduated college, Manisha hustled to do more, earn more, be more. At midlife, her body was done. She found herself in the middle of a health crisis. Her body wouldn't let her get out of bed. It had had enough. Suddenly there was no more doing, and with that, no more earning. That's when she learned just how much her self-worth relied on her net worth. She was worthless without her riches and her exceptional title. As she allowed her body to heal, Manisha woke up to her lack of wealth. It caused her to face what she had missed. Her biggest regret? Not attending her grandmother's funeral. At the time of her grandmother's death, Manisha believed her net worth was more important than showing up at the funeral. I've got too many important clients to attend to, she thought. My grandmother knows that I love her. Manisha couldn't see that human beings show up for one another, to celebrate a life, to mourn their absence, to cultivate their legacy, and to remember what it means to really live. So, Manisha stopped striving after her enough number. Instead, she answered the question, if I had $10 million and 10 years to live left, what shifts would I make? It was a question that led her to uncover the meaning of wealth. Elizabeth Alexander answered the question by embracing a new title, Laziest Girl in the World, writing syllabics instead of iambs, preferring slant to the gong of full rhyme, write briefly while others go for pages. The fisherman might ask a different question altogether. If my family and I have enough food in our bellies, how would we enjoy this day together? No matter who Manisha Thakur asks, our responses are similar. We would quit our frenetic doing. We would invest in our relationships and our communities. We would care about something larger than ourselves. What shifts would you make to cultivate wealth rather than riches? So let's return to the old man, counting his sums on a Canadian lakeside dock. At the end of the investigation, Chief Inspector Gamache has discovered who the murderer is. Luckily, spoiler alert, it's not the old man. Gamache sits down next to the old man and makes his final discovery. The old man's sums are not a practice of counting his net worth. The old man had worked professionally as an accountant. After a lifetime of counting other people's net worth, he tells Gamache, "Do you know what I've decided? The only thing money buys you is space. More space. Bigger houses, bigger cars, bigger seats on the plane, your own plane." And on and on and on. And he's learned that more space does not make human beings any happier. No one complains more than the rich and entitled, he says. Comfort, security, ease, none of that comes with money. Excuse me. Then the old man tells Gamache his first lesson on wealth. Way before he was an accountant, the old man spent time in a Japanese prisoner of war camp. It was terrible. He watched as his fellow prisoners died of starvation, dysentery, and cruelty, but the biggest killer, despair. Excuse me. Thank heavens it's not being taped. Can I have that? I didn't bring this up with me. Thank you. The biggest killer was despair. The old man learned how to liberate himself from despair. No matter how awful his days were, what he counted was his blessings. We're all blessed and we're all blighted, the old man says. He tells Chief Inspector Gamache, every day each of us counts our sums. The question is, what do we count? What do we count? Beloveds, close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. As we exhale, let's release our need for riches. As we inhale, let's do our sums. What blessing do you count this day? Who in your life is a blessing? Hold that blessing in your heart. Open your eyes. How wealthy are we? As the sun sets on another day of our lives, may we come to know that we are both blessed and blessings beyond measure. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. Reverend Emilie Boggis.